Hi, welcome to part 2 of my tips and tricks for Disneyland Paris. This video is going to be about characters at Disneyland Paris. So a lot of people, especially with young girls or boys, want to meet princesses, or adults actually, and they think the only way you can meet a princess is the Princess Pavilion, which is usually, it can be anything from an hour and a half queue to 6 hours. I've seen it before. It's ridiculous. That is changing to a virtual queue soon, so that should be a little bit better, but that is by no means the only way you can meet princesses. There are multiple options. So if you go into the Disneyland Hotel, we usually go in after Stars on Parade. We will watch it near the back and then we'll go into the hotel for a little break. It smells beautiful in there, by the way. So you go in, and as you walk into the hotel, on the left hand side just by the stairs, every so often, I want to say every half an hour, but don't quote me on it, there will be two people that come out, and they're called the Royal Troupe, and they'll do a bit of a show. They'll get you together, they'll start practicing lines or songs or something that you have to do, and then they will announce which princess it's for, and then the princess will come down the stairs, stand in front, and then they will greet guests afterwards and have a photo with you, although they only do a few people, so you do have to try and get their attention. It's a bit of a mess, but I've seen Tiana, Rapunzel, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Aurora. They all come down at certain times, and it's a different princess every half an hour, 45 minutes possibly. So that's a really good way to meet the princesses. Sometimes in Fantasyland they have a meet and greet by the old mill. I've seen Belle there before, and Cinderella. It's not on the app because there are characters on the app, but this isn't on the app, and they do a meet and greet there. I've also met Mulan in Adventureland, but that was for Chinese New Year, so we weren't actually sure what we were queuing for. We waited 3 hours. It was Mulan and Mushu. But yeah, so that's another way of meeting princesses in the hotel. Upstairs in the Disneyland Hotel as well. So you go up the stairs, to the right, and then to the left. Walk down that corridor, and at the end there's this lobby, and it's the Fleur de Lis bar. And if you sit there, they have the Royal Banquet, and they have, I can't remember what it's called, but the Royal Table or something like that. So if you sit there, princesses and princes walk past to go to this place where you can have a meal. I do believe that's €100 per person for this meal. But you don't need to be at the meal to have interactions, because they go in and out of a door, and I've seen all the princesses with the princes, and they always wave, and you can get footage. And then in the Royal Banquet, for lunch, there's usually Donald, Daisy, Mickey, Minnie, and then for dinner, or possibly that might be breakfast, and then for lunch there's Mickey, Minnie, Pluto, and Goofy. And they interact as well while they're passing through. You can get good videos. So even to go into the Disneyland Hotel, you don't even need to pay to be in Disney, and you can meet characters. There are also characters at the other hotels if you're willing to walk. There isn't any at the Art of Marvel that I am aware of. In Newport Bay, I think you can find Mickey, Minnie, Donald, maybe Goofy. I'm not sure of the times of day of this because I've never stayed in a Disneyland hotel, but I know that it's not exclusive to Disneyland Hotel guests. Anyone can meet them. They also have Woody and Jessie at the Cheyenne. Sequoia Lodge, I'm not entirely sure about the Sequoia Lodge. Possibly Chippendale, but I'm not entirely sure, so I can't really. But yeah, so you don't even need to pay to go in Disneyland to meet all these characters. You can just go in the hotels. Then if you are an annual pass holder, you probably already know this, but just in case you didn't, if you need to keep your eye out online for it, you won't see it. They have what they call pop-up surprises. So these are for annual pass holders only. I think sometimes you can take a guest with you. But as you're walking into Discoveryland, just on the left, there's a building, and that's where they have the pop-up surprises. It used to be where you collect your annual pass from, but they've changed it now. So pop-up surprises can be anyone, random characters, usually like rare characters. Like I've seen Oswald there, Tinkerbell. At the minute it is Mickey or Minnie in their sailor costumes, like for the cruise ship. And Jack Sparrow, because obviously he doesn't actually meet and greet. But there's been quite a few, like the Aristocats have been in there, Mirabelle, Miguel. There's been a lot of different characters, so you have to look out for them. They're never the same time in the year. They'll just announce as a pop-up surprise, and as soon as you've seen there's a pop-up surprise, you have to book your slot online. Obviously you have to have a registered park ticket. Well, obviously you will, because you'll have your annual pass, but register the day and then book your slot for when you want to meet this character. I think you can do it multiple days, but that's like another little thing that you can do anyway. If you go down to Casey Junior train, walk towards Casey Junior, and on the left down there, just walk down that little path, and there's usually a character there. Recently when I went, there was Asher, who obviously is a bit of a rare character, so that was quite good. And there's Asher. I've seen princesses there before, Tiana. I think I've seen Ariel go there as well. And then at Halloween, it was the Cheshire Cat. So there's someone different down there as well. There is always things that you can find. And even things like, because we go very often, we know where the characters go in and out, you know, to go and have their breaks. So the main place is the gate by It's a Small World. The gate by It's a Small World, there's a little door, just as you're looking at it, on the left there's a little door, and the characters come in and out of that. So sometimes if you're just sitting on a bench there, you'll see so many characters. Moana recently, she must have been in the Princess Pavilion. They come from the Princess Pavilion, they come from the character Princess Dining, and all the meet and greet spots. They all go through that gate. So if you're stood there, it's a great spot. And if Stars on Parade is on at 5:30 in the evening, like it usually is, and there's no special events, we usually go there an hour and a half before the parade, and there's so many characters that come in and out of there during that hour and a half. It sounds like you're wasting your day just sat there, but if you're resting your feet, you're still getting Disney magic. They still interact with you. They wave, they say hello, you know, you can film them. If you're dressed like one of them, they will likely come, and they might just wave, but they could come and give you a hug. Sometimes they walk with you and hold your hand and walk with you. Being an adult or a child, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you just have to keep your eye out, go and take your time, walk around and explore, and you will find things that you didn't know were there. So in Frontierland, you can find, so on the app, I've got the app up here. On the app, if you go on map down the bottom and then list, and then across here it will have attractions, shows. So I always go over to characters and it will tell you what characters are meeting and where they're meeting, but they're not all on the app. So this mysterious meeting by Phantom Manor never used to be on there. That was always Phantom Mickey. So you walk towards Phantom Manor and on the left hand side you can see Mickey Mouse meeting. Sometimes it's Pluto, and at Halloween it's usually Jack and Sally. But that used to be a bit of a secret meeting. But it does say you can meet Goofy in his cowboy gear, which never used to be there. There he is. But if you go up to Frontierland and you go by the Lion King show, there's usually Minnie Mouse in a cowgirl outfit and Goofy in his cowboy outfit. Then sometimes Chip and Dale around there as well. I've met them in little cowboy outfits. I've met them not in cowboy outfits and they've been there. So Rainbow the Lion King is always a good place to go and just look. If you take your time and walk around all the corners of the park, you will see so many characters. And I know someone that's been there and said that they've seen no characters at all. And I don't understand where they're looking. Because as soon as you walk into Disneyland Park, on the left-hand side by the Liberty Arcade, there's always a character there. It used to be Winnie the Pooh. At the moment, it's Donald Duck. But that's while the music festival's on. And then opposite, later in the afternoon, there's another character. It used to be Rabbit and Piglet. At the moment, it's Daisy Duck. So as soon as you walk in, that's two characters. Not always. The one on the right is not there early, but the one on the left is always there in the morning. Then if you were to walk down Liberty Arcade or down Main Street, on the left, there's a little hut, which also has another character. It used to be Stitch, but at the moment, it's Max while the music festival's on. That could change at any point. But there's always one there. Then I think later in the afternoon, possibly, it might be morning, by Plaza Gardens. So you've just walked down Main Street, you've got to the Central Plaza. On the right hand side, you will see Plaza Gardens, and Pluto's usually meeting there. I think at the moment, while the music festival's on, it is Mary Poppins, Bert, and some of the penguins. So that's another one. Then if you were to go towards Fantasyland, so if you walk around the castle on the right, if you walk up there, Mary Poppins used to meet just where the little arch is with Bert and the penguins. But obviously with this music festival, she was meeting by Plaza Gardens. But there could be a random character there that isn't on the app. And then you walk further up on the right hand side. I think these do more come out in the afternoon, I think. Obviously, I haven't been there since the music festival, and I know Stars on Parade's at 11:30 in the morning. But when that's on at 5:30, usually, like when there's not a festival, that's what I'm referring to with the characters being there in the afternoon. I am going to Disneyland on Sunday, so I should be able to, give more updates on that. So last time when we walked a bit further up on the right, there was Tigger, and opposite was Eeyore, but I have seen Pinocchio and Geppetto there. Tigger and Eeyore have been together there. Then if you go to the left by It's a Small World and keep walking straight down towards the carousel, on the right hand side you have the old mill. Obviously during the music festival, I believe that's where Rapunzel is putting like a show on for the music festival. But I've seen Belle there before, like I said, and Cinderella. Sometimes Alice in Wonderland meets there with the Mad Hatter. Sometimes Alice and the Mad Hatter are by Meet Mickey Mouse, because there's a big Mickey Mouse hut and they're just in front of that. Then if you go to the carousel, not the carousel, sorry, to the teacups. So if you go to the teacups, there's usually Alice in Wonderland characters there. So I've seen Alice in the Mad Hatter, I've met the Queen of Hearts. To the right of the teacups, there's another character there, which sometimes it's usually Tigger or Eeyore, if they're not over the other side, or Pinocchio and Geppetto. But yeah, that is loads of characters in Fantasyland. If you go there in the afternoon, they're just walking about, and it's really, there's so many and that people don't know about. They have added more on the app now. There's quite a few on the app. But but they never used to. It does say there, meet characters, Alice in Wonderland. And if you're not sure where anything is, there is a list. But if you were to click on Alice in Wonderland characters, it will say view on the map there. So you can go on the map and it will show you exactly where they are by the teacups. Going into Adventureland. So if you were to walk towards the castle, and on the left hand side is the entrance to Adventureland through Agrabah. If you walk underneath the cove of Agrabah, Aladdin is sometimes meeting just to the left where the passage of Aladdin is. He's been meeting there recently. Sometimes he's with Jasmine, sometimes he's on his own. Then if you keep walking, and on the right hand side there is either Genie or Jafar. It's a little bit out of the way and hidden, but if you were just exploring Adventureland, you will see characters. Baloo is usually meeting under like a little hut just a bit out of the way. I've met Baloo there. I've met Baloo and King Louie as well. They're both there together. I feel like I've met someone else there as well, but sometimes they do change. In Adventureland, Captain Jack Sparrow, he doesn't do meet and greets as such, but he will just be walking around and, you know, being drunk Jack. It's usually obviously by Pirates of the Caribbean or Jack's Captain Jack's restaurant, which is by Pirates of the Caribbean. And he does stop for some pictures sometimes, but a lot of the times we've never ended up with a picture with him because he's so fast, he just walks past. But he'll be roaming around at some point. And then you can meet Peter Pan and Wendy. You do have by Peter Pan as well, just in front of where Peter Pan meets Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. Sometimes it is just Hook on his own, but that's another good meet and greet as well. Discoveryland. In Discoveryland there isn't as many, but there's more than people think. So there's the Starport. So if you go in towards Star Tours, just before you get to Star Tours, there's a Starport. It's usually Darth Vader, which is now being changed to a virtual queue. It's already changed to a virtual queue, so it's brilliant. You haven't got to wait. Or you do the virtual queue. So you go on the app. Let me show you. Go onto the map, go onto list, and then go on to characters. It does say here with Darth Vader, it's a virtual queue, so you click on it and you press join the queue. You can't do this until you've entered the park with your park ticket. So as soon as you've entered the park, you can join the queue as long as it's open, because I know Meet Mickey is open at 10 AM and that's a virtual queue now. So join that queue. Hopefully you'll be able to get in that queue, because I know Stitch is quite popular at the minute. And then it will give you a time slot to go back. So while you're waiting in the queue, you can go and ride, you can have some snacks, you can watch some shows, and then it gives you a time slot to go back instead of standing in a queue all day. So that's really good, I think, that they've done that. So there's Darth Vader there. Just behind that, on the right, Mandalorian and Grogu have been meeting. Sometimes he hasn't got Grogu with him, it's just him. If you were to go in Cafe Hyperion, in that big indoor bit, there's a little door, and you'll see the outdoor queue anyway. That is usually Minnie Mouse, Minnie Around the World. They call it, because she's dressed differently, but it's been Minnie Mouse, Daisy, I've seen Clarabelle there. At the moment it's Stitch dressed like Elvis for the music festival, so that's also a virtual queue at the moment. It wasn't before when it was Minnie. And of course, as you enter the park, don't forget to turn around and look up on the train station balcony and give a wave to Mickey and Minnie. Usually on the way out after the fireworks it's Donald Duck, but that changes sometimes, and at the moment because of the music festival it's Mickey on the way in and Mickey on the way out. But sometimes I've seen Chip and Dale up there with them. Princess Week, we've seen princesses up there, which Princess Week is usually in August. And obviously don't forget, on Stars on Parade, all the characters are there. I'd say to get a good spot, go there at least 45 minutes before the parade and wait. if you're waiting at the front by the curb, then you're okay. You do get people trying to push their kids in front of you, or trying to push themselves in front of you, or bashing into your back sometimes. I mean, but if you've been waiting there that long, the cast members do usually come over and they will stop the people pushing through. Or, in my opinion, the best place to watch the parade is by the gates by It's a Small World. If you stand to the, as you're looking at the gate, if you stand to the right hand side, because the left hand side is disability viewing. So if you stand on this side, like I said, before the parade, you see princesses coming in and out and all sorts of characters walking through, and then you get the start of the parade. I think that's a really good spot. So in studios, as soon as you walk into studios and go to the left hand side by the show together, Pluto and Goofy, sometimes Chip and Dale are just walking around. They're not doing an official meet and greet, but they're just walking around. You can have pictures with them. At the photo spot that it does say on the app, you can meet Jessie and Woody. At the moment though, it's Woody and Elastigirl from The Incredibles. So it does change up. Sometimes I've seen Joy there, but it's usually Woody and Jessie. Also in Avengers Campus, in studios, as you walk into the left, there is like, I can't think what it's called, from Ant-Man, like a big circle. And characters usually standing there and have pictures. I've seen people have pictures with Groot, which he hasn't been there for a while because I really want to meet him. Ant-Man, Iron Man, not Spider-Man because he's a virtual meet and greet. But yeah, sometimes they go there. But also, just before Avengers Campus, where the big sign is, on the right-hand side is where we met Ant-Man. He was just stood there. There was barely anybody waiting. So we just went and had a picture with him. If you walk through Avengers Campus, Thor and Loki usually put on a little bit of a show. It's about 10-15 minutes long. It's not too long, but that's quite good. And you sometimes have Guardians of the Galaxy doing like a dance off, which is quite entertaining for the kids, well, and for adults. Spider-Man is a virtual queue as well. So like you would with the new Meet Mickey, virtual queue and Stitch and Darth Vader, you just join the queue before you enter the park and then you can go meet him. Or there is a random Marvel character, so you don't know which one you're going to get, but that's a virtual queue as well. Sometimes on top of the roof, Spider-Man will just appear, do some flips and waves to people, and there's that. Sometimes there is little shows with other Avengers that you have the Avengers welcome as you enter the park. We've never been and saw that because we don't go in studios as much as we probably should. But yeah, so you can meet and see some shows in Avengers Campus. There's quite a lot going on really if you stay there long enough. Then inside Animation Theatre with the big blue hat, if you go in there, there is where you can currently meet Olaf. I don't think that's been anybody else as far as I'm aware. It's always been Olaf. But also around studios, if you are walking through Toy Story Playland, you might see some toy soldiers. They walk around, they interact with people. They're really good. They're not an official meet and greet again, they're just walking around. But it's a good interaction, really. I think I've pretty much covered characters, hopefully. If there is any more, I will just add another video. But thank you for watching, and I will be doing another video following this, part 3 of my tips and tricks, and that will be, it's not really tips and tricks, the next one. It's more hidden things that you may not know about around the park. So that will be my next video. So thanks for watching. Bye.